You're now listening to Loggers Tech Talks from Swamp Fox Insurance Agency.
Welcome back to the Loggers Tech Talks with Swamp Fox Agency. I'm your host, Tank Bryant. Today, we're joined by Dr. David Bevly, who has been a key partner in this year's Loggers Technology Summit. Dr. Bevly is a professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering at Auburn University, where he directs the GPS and Vehicle Dynamics Laboratory, better known as GAVLAB. At GAVLAB, his team leads cutting-edge research in vehicle navigation and control using GPS technology and onboard sensors, exploring everything from off-road autonomy and truck platooning to unmanned vehicles and autonomous racing. Dr. Bevly holds degrees from Texas A&M and MIT and a PhD in mechanical engineering from Stanford University. With decades of experience, he's made significant contributions to the field of autonomy and vehicle systems research. Last year, Dr. Bevly joined us at the summit with an autonomous truck and static display. This year, we're taking it to the next level, bringing the Loggers Technology Summit directly to Dr. Bevly Research Facility here in Auburn. For the first time, attendees can witness live demonstrations and even ride in an autonomous vehicle at a private test track. It's all part of our mission at Swamp Fox Agency to spotlight innovation and drive meaningful change in the logging and trucking industries, and our event, the Loggers Technology Summit, does just that. Dr. Bevly, we're thrilled to have you back this year.
Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. We'll jump right into it. So, first off, how did you get into the world of vehicle dynamics and GPS research?
Well, I was studying my PhD at Stanford, as you mentioned, and an opportunity came up to work on a project with John Deere where they were looking to automate farm practices on their John Deere tractors using GPS. And it was actually it was out of the GPS lab under Brad Parkinson, who's considered the father of GPS. So it was a great opportunity to work under him and with the other students working on that project. But I was technically a mechanical engineer, graduate student, and that lab was in aerospace engineering. And so I needed a co-advisor, an advisor from mechanical engineering. And about a year into my PhD, Stanford hired Chris Gerdes, who was a vehicle dynamicist. And so we kind of started working together on some vehicle dynamics aspects to the GPS guided farm tractor. And then we applied some of my GPS knowledge to some of the work that he was doing on vehicle dynamics. And when I came to Auburn, I wanted to kind of combine those two labs, the GPS lab out of Stanford, as well as the vehicle dynamics aspects. And so we started the GPS and vehicle dynamics lab, and one of my first graduate students coined it GAVLAB, and it stuck.
Okay, that makes sense. Tell us a little bit about GAVLAB. What's your guys' mission, and what kind of projects are you working on today?
So our mission basically is to do research in the area of anything related to vehicle dynamics, GPS navigation, and right now a hot topic is known as assured PNT, assured positioning, navigation, and timing. And so, folks come to us with research problems that they want us to look at and tackle and come up with solutions and solve. And so anything that fits in those realms. So we've got projects related to automated trucking, working with Daimler Trucks North America. We have projects looking at, we've got a new project coming along actually where we're looking at if we can add sensors to a trailer to determine if the trailer is starting to have issues, whether it's potentially a suspension problem or a tire problem. Can we predict that this trailer needs to come in for maintenance before something catastrophic happens? You mentioned the autonomous racing. That's a fun project that we have that's actually unfunded. So we have some supporters that support that, but it's really an interesting competition and a great opportunity for my students to get involved. And a lot of what we're trying there with the autonomous racing, we like to try then to put onto our trucks and onto our vehicles. Racing obviously is, it's an extreme sport. You're trying to do things at the limits, but you can learn from that. And there's a lot of other industries that do that, where they get involved in racing so they can take some of that technology of things that are happening at the limits and then apply that into their systems. And so us being able to do autonomous racing and then take that and apply it to some of our other vehicles is really exciting.
Okay. And now most people, like myself, when you hear, autonomy, the first thing you think of in vehicles, you think of Tesla, I mean, what does it actually look like in a forest or on a logging road?
Well, some of the things are similar to that, to whether Tesla or Waymo is another great example of a system that's giving autonomous rides in certain environments. One of the differences though with like Waymo is they're not set to operate in all conditions. So they started off in Phoenix. They're expanding now to Phoenix and San Francisco. They're expanding to Austin, and there was a recent report where they're expanding to Pittsburgh. Aurora's been running trucks between Dallas and Houston on, I believe that's Interstate 45.
Hmm.
But one of the things with forestry trucks is forestry trucks are going to operate in all kinds of conditions, whether it's both on-road and off-road, deep into wooded areas. Here in Alabama, for example, there's areas where they're logging where it might be miles and miles of county roads that are dirt roads. We actually did some testing and experimentation up in Canada, in some remote areas of Canada.
Mhm.
And there, where we tested, most of the route was a dirt road. It wasn't a paved road where the Teslas or the Waymos are operating, or even the Auroras. Um, and then the conditions, can change very drastically. So we were actually, I think we were there in October, and it started snowing.
Okay.
And so now, we're trying to operate on snow, muddy dirt roads and those kind of things. So, and then some of the things that you can come across, obviously, there's more wildlife. So you might encounter more deer, foxes, or things on the road. You can encounter small ATVs that you wouldn't see on highways. And also just the difference in traffic speeds, right? So on Interstate 45, for example, it's unlikely you're going to encounter a slow moving vehicle. Whereas you might come across a tractor, a farm tractor or an ATV, and you have to be able to, understand those and react to those things. So I think just the variation that you can experience.
And as far as that's concerned, I mean, would you say like the toughest part of that would be the terrain part of it, or is it more of the GPS side of it that's kind of the trickier part of it?
I think, well, all those things come into play. So certainly, if you're in heavy forested areas, some of the GPS receivers will start to break down.
Mhm.
In our lab, we've developed technologies that allow us actually to be able to pull out the GPS signal or hold on to the GPS signal even in heavy forested areas. Um, but it's not, if we get into dense enough areas or dense enough canopy, then you're going to have to rely on other sensors. But the Waymos and Teslas aren't relying solely on GPS. They have the same issues if they're in a heavy urban canyon area. They're going to lose GPS, so they have to rely on other sensors. I think just again the variability that you can have from road conditions, especially if we're even talking about trying to do autonomy all the way from where the wood or trees are being harvested. I know I actually own a timber farm here in Alabama, and they'll have to tow the trucks out
Yeah.
sometimes because just it's muddy and rutted, and
Mhm.
so those variable conditions. If you're up north, they're not gonna stop for snow or ice and sleet. They have to continue to operate in those conditions, and again, the things that you might see or encounter, for example, you might have a tree down across the road,
Mhm.
and most loggers, I'm sure, most truck operators probably carry a chainsaw with them. Hop out, cut the tree, move on. What's an autonomous truck going to do in that case? Or if you got a tree down, the truck driver might be able to see, and hey, if I go around here, yeah, the tree looks bigger and fuller, but it's really just that's the area with the small limbs, and I can
Mhm.
crush over that. And so to be able to put those kind of intelligence and smarts into an autonomous truck that can look and see, like, can I pass this? Can I traverse this? What do I do in this situation?
That makes sense because I'm sitting here thinking, I was actually talking about it the other day when I saw you bringing the autonomous truck again. So, man, my GPS goes out in the bathroom sometimes on my phone. So, what do you do when you're in the woods if you're not able to get a signal? But I'm sure, I mean, you guys have backups and things like that to make sure that, you're not using the signal that my cell phone's using. Obviously, it's a little bit different.
Right, and we're approaching the problem from different aspects, trying to improve the GPS receiver so it works better in those situations, but using other sensors as well. And sometimes, being an academic group, and this is going to come up, I'm probably going to say it multiple times through this. We're looking at what's feasible, what's possible, how can you do this? We're not on the product side, like for example, a Bendix, which Bendix is bringing their system, and so you're going to get to see a very low, what's called a TRL technology readiness level, which is an R&D from an academic university up to something that's on the market product by Bendix. But we'll do things like we might cut GPS off on purpose, just to stress the system, or see. We might put we have you mentioned companies will come to us with a project and say, hey, we want you to develop a system that'll work without GPS at all. Not because they're intending to do that, but they want to stress or validate the backup system that they're using. And so sometimes we'll try things that we don't expect that's how this is going to operate, in the field, but so that we can prove out whether or not this is even a feasible backup system.
Now, are you there most of the time, like when you guys are doing like the field tests, especially on the front end? Were you like actually present for that, or did you have like another team that kind of did the test while you did more of the technology side of it?
So when I was a graduate student, I was there for all the testing. I mean, I was writing the software, testing it in computer models and simulations, and then I was in the tractor when we were running those tests. Now, as kind of the graduate advisor, it depends. If it's a brand new first of a kind test, I might try to come see what's going on. For example, the testing that we're doing this week, the team actually just got back from Laguna Seca from the race competition, got back this week, and they're trying to get the trucks and car ready for the demonstration. I haven't been out there to see it yet. Just asked, how's it going? They say it's going to be okay. We'll see. Like I'll clarify tonight to everyone. Again, this is a prototype system that we're testing. So, who knows what will happen.
Okay. I mean, I'm excited. I saw the truck last year because I don't know what I was expecting. I think I was expecting it not to look like a truck. And then I saw it and was like, okay, well, it looks like a truck. So it, and looked in the inside and was like, okay, well, it looks like a truck. It feels like a truck. So I'm excited to see it on the track tomorrow.
Yeah, and we'll have a static display of one of our other trucks from Cascadia. I mentioned we're working with Daimler Trucks North America, and that truck even looks more like a regular commercial truck because all of the interfaces have already come standard on that truck. So Daimler's producing trucks now that have these interfaces where these technologies, such as what Bendix is working on or what we're working on, can be easily integrated into the system. And so unfortunately, we're not going to be able to run that truck tomorrow, but you'll see from a system where we've added steering column actuators to a system now where that's just part of the production system for example, on a Cascadia, and the new pack cars are similar.
Okay. All right. And I mean, any standout field test stories that you have? I'm sure you've seen it. You've seen it all. I mean, do you remember the first time the system navigated without anyone's help?
Well, I remember the first time, certainly I remember the first time as a graduate student, where I wrote software and was running, riding in the tractor and it's steering itself. And I remember times where like, hey, I want to try this. And you try something and it was like, oops, that didn't work. But I was always in the tractor, so I could always take control. Tomorrow we're going to have safety drivers that can take control. But when I first got to Auburn, there was a program put out by DARPA, and DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. And they usually put out calls for proposals, and you write a proposal. And if they deem your proposal worthy of funding, they fund you to do some project that you proposed. They, in 2000, I think it was 2004, they did a kind of a different thing where they said, we're not going to give you any money up front. We're going to set out this competition called a Grand Challenge where we want you to build a vehicle that can autonomously drive in the desert for, some set of distance. It was like 150 miles. And whoever completes the course in the shortest amount of time, we're going to give $1 million.
Okay.
And the first year of the event, the furthest vehicle went 7 miles.
Okay. All right.
And so they said, okay, 2 million now. And they did it about a year and a half later, and five teams actually finished. And a lot of the autonomy you see from Tesla and Waymo, and a lot of it actually spawned out of that event. You can trace back a lot of the a lot of the engineers that started these companies. So Chris Urmson, which is now at Aurora, but was at Waymo, he was involved in Carnegie Mellon's team, and there's some other guys that either whether it's trucking or automotive, but we got a chance to be involved in that, and so we were doing testing. One of my graduate students, one of my PhD students, Rob Daly, was in the vehicle at the time, and we had run a test several times. And I said, well, I guess it's time to try it with nobody in the vehicle. And so he got out, and it was dark, and the vehicle took off, and it was an eerie feeling for the first time to not be a safety driver, to no one be in the vehicle, and this vehicle takes off in the dark. And I was like, man, I hope it comes back. The route was kind of like a circle, so it was supposed to go down, turn around, and come back. And there was a group. It was me and my graduate student, and then there was engineers from Rockwell Scientific that were part of this team, and we're all just standing there in the dark. And all of a sudden, we hear it slow down, and we see the headlights turn. It's coming back towards us, and I was like, "Woof!" That was close. So I certainly remember the first time we ran something without any driver. We got an opportunity, as I mentioned, to go up to Canada. FP Innovations invited us and said, "Hey, will your trucks work on a forestry road?" And we said, "We don't see any reason why not. We're not necessarily using things that require that we're on a paved road." And so we got to go up there and do a demonstration. And I went up there to see that one. And then and that time we were just doing throttle and braking. So we were basically doing what was known as automated platooning, which does add some safety features to make sure you don't rear end another truck in case you're not paying attention. And they said, "Man, that works great. What would it take to add steering to that?" And we said, with some funding, research, and another year, we could bring it up and do steering. And so we did that. And we'll have some video of that playing tomorrow while guests are waiting to ride in the truck. But kind of showing the level of precision that can be achieved.
Okay. I mean, you're a creator, you're an innovator. That's not me. I'm the type of person, you give it to me and then I'll go from there, but I'm probably not coming up with the idea. And I'm definitely not coming up with the idea. I mean, how does it feel seeing something that you built now operating solo?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I don't know that I'm necessarily coming up with the idea from the scratch, but someone's, coming and saying, "Hey, we want to build this vehicle that uses this sensor, does this. Can you?" And now it's really rewarding. Again, as a professor running this lab, it's really my students that are doing it. And I'm getting to give advice. Sometimes that advice is good, sometimes it's not. But they're learning, and they're getting to go through that process and see those things. And we're always learning. I mean, so with whether it's the trucks tomorrow, if something goes wrong, we'll look at the data, we'll take a note, and we'll improve that for next time. Or same thing with the race vehicle. I mean, we've had things happen with the race vehicle, and it hits the wall. We go back, we look at the data, and it's like, okay, we need to fix this. And you're continually improving the things until they become more and more reliable, until they're ready to say, okay, hand off to someone that's ready now to introduce this into a product. And I keep mentioning the work with Daimler Trucks. We're some of the things that we're working on. We're working closely with our engineers so that as they sense that it gets to a point that it's feasible, they can start to incorporate it. And another one of my PhDs was doing some work for them. Jake Ward, he's wrapping up his PhD, and Daimler told me that they're taking an approach similar to what he did. They're making it, a little bit more where they can put it into their product, but they're taking some of the things that he did and tweaking them and looking to have them on the next generation truck. And that's always really satisfying. We've had several instances of that where things we've worked on here are now in products.
Absolutely. And listening to you speak now, and being involved in trucking a little bit more over the last couple of years. I remember as a kid growing up, you watched the Jetsons on TV, and they made it sound like by now we would just be flying around on space whatever, and now we're starting to see some of these things kind of come into fruition that we've been talking about for the past 10 years. I mean, are we on track to be fully autonomous? Are we on track to have fully autonomous log trucks? And if so, not putting you on the spot with a definite date, but kind of what's the future of that look like? I mean, what are we looking at as far as that's concerned?
Yeah, and the problem with that question is, what do we mean by fully autonomous? Everyone's got a little bit different definition. I'm not sure that in our lifetime, for example, we'll see trucks without a steering wheel or without a
Absolutely.
cab, for
Mhm.
example. Um, Aurora has done some unmanned operations between Dallas and Houston, but there's still, um, I think there's still ways to go before that's widespread. That system's got lots and lots of redundancy for safety, as you would want for prototype systems or first of the kind systems, and so they're expensive, and so especially in industries. I mean, all trucking industry is very cost conscious,
Mhm.
but obviously in logging as well, and so you know can they probably cannot afford to add that much technology to their trucks right now.
Mhm.
Um, but those systems are going to continue to get better, continue to evolve, and be able to handle more and more situations. Um, I think in somewhat of the near term, um, that you're still probably going to have operators that maybe have to move the logging truck from where the load is uh, loaded, out of the woods
Mhm.
to the first. May not have to be paved road, but first county road, like off the property, if you will. Um, and then maybe at that point the truck can take it. You gotta, how are you going to handle it on the other end when it gets to the sawmill? Is
Absolutely.
there going to be someone there now that
Yep.
can hop in it and drive it around the sawmill? But interestingly, I mean, there's groups working on different pieces of the problem. So there's several companies that they're focused only on what happens when the truck gets to the yard. They weren't looking at sawmills per se, but when these trucks get to a distribution center. So there's some companies that's all they're working on, is just how do I move these trucks autonomously around the distribution center. Um, but so we have fully autonomous, but then there's also technology known as or assisted or advanced driver assisted systems.
Mhm.
So for example, the braking system that we'll see tomorrow from Bendix, there's lane keeping systems. Um, there was a company that was looking at autonomous following. So now you've got an operator that's in one truck and the other one's unmanned, but it's following. So now you've got a supervisor, if you will,
Mhm.
that maybe is watching a couple of trucks. And so I think we'll see this kind of progression, um, where there's, you know, feet off, brake off, or feet off, hands off soon with the lane keeping. Then maybe it's one operator that's pulling a couple of trucks. Um, there'll be some, fully autonomous operations on, certain segments of road.
Mhm.
I keep going back to Aurora and this Houston, Dallas kind of route. That's still a long way from, property, dirt, county
Absolutely.
road, county paved road, to highway, to sawmill. Um, so I think fully autonomous, where a logging group loads up a truck and it goes off to the sawmill on its own and comes back on its own. I think it's a ways away. I
Okay.
think.
And that's fair enough. I mean, like I said, we're closer, definitely closer now than I ever thought we would be.
Yeah, and one of the things with the autonomous vehicles, I mean, after the Grand Challenge, so everyone got excited about autonomous vehicles, and there was all these dates by 2020, by 2025, by 2030, and a lot of the companies now have come back and said, it's not going to happen, and I think some of that, what happened was it was really, really easy to do 80% of the problem.
Mhm.
It wasn't too difficult to do 95% of the problem. Got a little challenging to do 99. And I think people are finding, man, that last percent. I saw a post that said, we're still 30 years, we're still trying to solve that last 1%. These last few things that can pop up, whether it's a tree across the road, whether it's just um, a trailer in front of us that's starting to get squirrel. Like, how do you recognize what you should do and how to handle those situations? As humans, we have an unbelievable ability to look, to figure out, to reason, even things we've never seen before. And with a lot of these autonomous systems, they'll make a mistake. The engineers will fix it. Okay, that one's solved. Now we've seen that issue, but continue progress.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're thrilled the folks at the Loggers Technology Summit to get, an up close look at you guys tomorrow. I mean, what kind of demonstration can we expect? I mean, what can we expect tomorrow?
So what we're planning, and again, as an academic R&D group, that is really, putting this together and I say in a week. I mean, we've had tons and tons of technologies we've developed over time, and for this demo, we've basically just been preparing this week. So we have a test track that's a 1.7 mile oval test track. It's actually an asphalt test bed. As people ride around, they're going to see these signs with different states, and those states it's that state's asphalt recipe, if you will.
Okay.
So they bring their materials, put it on the track, and then NCAT, this National Center for Asphalt Technology, they drive these trucks manually around and put a lifetime worth of wear, and they can test and compare different asphalt mixes. But that test bed also is a place where we can demonstrate technologies like we'll do tomorrow. So it's a great facility that Auburn has. And so it's a 1.7 mile oval test track. And what we've got essentially a pre-recorded path on the track. The test driver will load up volunteers to ride. Unfortunately, we can only take two passengers in the truck. But we'll have an MKZ that's going to have exactly the same technology. So it'll be a passenger car that we can put 3 people in. So
okay,
we'll put 3 people in the car. We'll put 2 in the truck. And the safety drivers will pull them out onto the lane. They'll hit a button, a go button, and should be hands off, feet off. And if it works right, the system will take them around a lap on the track, maybe 2. It's going to depend a little bit on how many laps Bendix wants to do.
Okay.
So if Bendix says we want to run 2 laps, then we'll run 2 laps as well. So then the Bendix truck will be behind us. I believe they're going to be showcasing some automatic braking technology. They're going to have an inflatable in the lane, and the truck basically will automatically brake. So if a driver basically is not paying attention, something's happened or whatnot, the system would automatically brake and prevent that rear end collision.
Okay. And looking at the videos, one of the things that, surprised me was how fast the truck was going. Like, I don't know what I expected. I think I expected it to be going like 10 miles an hour around the track. And I was like, no, this truck's moving. I don't know how fast it was going, but it was faster than what I expected,
Yeah, and our speeds tomorrow will be somewhat, we'll see what speed they want to run at. The track's actually designed for the trucks to run at 45 miles an hour. Testing this week, we've been running around 30.
Okay.
It is a closed test track, but as you get in it, you'll see that there's no barrier on the side, and so we want to be cautious with this system, especially taking guests around. And there's a chance that the safety driver is going to have to grab the wheel if something happens. But again, it'll be an opportunity to see what the technology potentially is capable of, and it's going to be a great opportunity for us to potentially get some feedback, like.
Absolutely.
Hey, this, you need to make sure that you're doing this or handling this. This is something before we would even look at this technology. And so to get feedback like that, which we don't get an opportunity to do all the time, as scientists and as engineers, what we think is great and such. And so, for example, we were doing some tests where we were doing some, automatic steering. But it was a system that they still planned to have a passenger in. And we didn't care about passenger comfort. We cared about how well did we control the system. They said, hey, you're going to make passengers sick in this. Like, you can't do this or that. So we welcome any feedback tomorrow. And
yeah. And what should attendees walk away thinking about in terms of applying this to their operations? I mean, I know, like I said, I talk to loggers and, forestry guys all the time. What's something that you would want them to walk away from this experience tomorrow thinking like, okay, maybe I can use this, or maybe I can think about doing this way. I mean, what would you say?
I think exactly that. I think there's a couple of things looking at where some of the technology is, like how is this going to improve their current operations, but also they can start to see like, hey, these things as they start coming online, how is this going to allow me to improve my operation? And again, give that kind of feedback. For example, they may see an avenue where, okay, full autonomy is not going to be here for a long time, but hey, if you could do this piece of the problem for us, like we struggle with drivers that can do this thing. That might be something like might open up an area of research where, maybe there's some small piece where they see the possibilities. And even though those possibilities of some of what we're going to demonstrate with, autonomous driving are a long way off, they might see some aspect that could improve, their operation. I know safety is a big concern. Certainly, rollover kind of things, rear end collisions, lane departures, So these are some of the technologies that are really getting close to being on, or really close. They are on production systems that will either alert the driver or even, maintain you in the lane. So they're not fully autonomous, but probably can start to help reduce some of the catastrophic things that can happen.
Okay. Can folks in the industry get involved with GAVLAB, like through pilots or partnerships or internships? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, so there's a wide range of ways that people can get involved. But if a group or organization, if they do see a problem that they think there's a need to look at to see if there's a solution, then we do research projects with government agencies, with companies, we've even done some with kind of startup individual companies, individual owner companies, those kind of things where they come to us and say, hey, again, we see some of the technology you're working on. We know this is going to be out, but we're curious if, can you build a system that can do this, or is this feasible or capable? Sometimes it's even studies. So we've had groups, hey, we want to know whose lane keeping system or whose braking system is the safest. So I have a colleague that actually he was doing testing of different commercial systems. So we put them on the test track and did a test similar to what Bendix will run tomorrow, and actually tested like the detection ranges and the stopping distances, and just did an analysis of if a group's looking like, hey, which of these systems should I buy? So we can serve sometimes as a independent evaluator, I guess. Sometimes it's hard because right now we're working with Daimler trucks, so we're probably so sometimes there can be some conflicts of interest there as we're working with one group or another group.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think there's a wide range of ways. All of my graduate students are supported on external research projects, and then we do the autonomous racing kind of as a volunteer effort with some gift donations that people generously support the team with.
Okay. And where can people follow along with GAVLAB or connect with your research?
So our website, we don't do the greatest job of keeping it up to date. That's the first place I would send people. So we have a website. If you do a Google search on Auburn GAVLAB, it'll pop up. But it's the website is gavlab.auburn.edu.
Okay.
So we try to keep up to date projects there, information about the different resources we have. So certainly that's up to date. So we list the test vehicles we have and the test track and information about that, and the garage that people are going to see tomorrow, and all of that's on the website, and our contact information is there.
Okay. Any final thoughts or advice to loggers and fleet owners trying to, keep up with this innovation?
It's moving fast. I mean, so with different companies getting into the technology, as well as the OEMs starting to bring in technology. So it is changing fast. I think conferences and summits like this, where you can see like what are people working on, on one extreme of what we're doing to what's already commercially a product with what Bendix will showcase, and opportunities to see that range and to see the updates to those systems.
Okay. All right. Well, Dr. David Bevly, man, we appreciate you coming and talking with me today, talking with our listeners. One final question for you. Auburn's playing Texas A&M. What you got?
So I always pull for A&M when the two play. And it was funny last year. Auburn didn't have a very good season, and I'm pulling for them every game except for the A&M game. And A&M comes to Auburn, and I've got my maroon shirt on, and Auburn goes up 21-0, and there's a guy next section over that knows me, and he says, "Man, we don't play like this ever." And I said, "I know. I've been sitting here all season long." But so Auburn beat A&M. My wife's actually a huge Auburn fan, so I'm hearing her scream in my ear the whole time those two are playing. But yeah,
House divided.
it's a little bit. It's fun. It's funny. I'll go to College Station, and on Friday I'll wear an Auburn shirt because I'm usually there doing, looking at collaborations, and so I'm representing Auburn. But then on Saturday I swap shirts, but it's fun.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, like I said, Dr. David Bevly, man, we appreciate it, and thank you for, coming out here and speaking with us at the Loggers Technology Summit.
I appreciate being here. Appreciate the opportunity for my students to showcase the technology and get an opportunity to get some feedback. So it'll be great for us as well.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to hit that follow button on YouTube for more great content from Swamp Fox Insurance Agency.